From science fiction movies to novels, the end of civilization has always fascinated us. Throughout history, there have been many predictions of an apocalypse that would eventually wipe out human life. In 1973, an MIT computer predicted that civilization would come to an end by 2040. Others suggest we may go extinct hundreds of thousands of years later. Could any of this be true? If we study the demise of historic civilizations, one thing is quite clear. The collapse doesn't come all of a sudden. There are many signs beforehand. In today's video, we'll be discussing if civilization is really on the brink of collapse. What do studies say? Is there any concrete evidence? We'll talk about all of this and more. Are we invincible? In the few thousand years humans have lived on Earth, many civilizations have come and gone. From the Aztecs, to the Mayans, to the Romans, great civilizations that were thought to be unbeatable eventually fell. What about our current civilization? Things aren't looking too good these days. To clear things up, this is not us trying to make you afraid. Actual scientists have been studying the way we've been expanding and the limited resources we have on hand. There's one particular study that makes us uneasy. In 1972, a team of scientists at MIT did a study on the risks of a possible collapse in civilization. They identified a limit to growth as we end up exploiting all our natural resources. They expected industrial civilization to collapse in the 21st century. Naturally, at the time this study was released, it was met with controversy. Many people ridiculed the findings by misrepresenting what the study found and the methods the scientists used to arrive at their conclusion. But a senior executive at KPMG, one of the big four firms in the accounting industry, revisited the study. To Gaia Harrington, it was a personal project she did to see if the MIT study was able to stand the test of time 2 decades into the 21st century. The report predicted that if we continued business as usual, the world's economic growth would peak in the 2040s. After that, growth would take a dive and we'll experience food shortages and fewer natural resources, not to mention a decline in population. While this collapse is not likely to end the human race, it will certainly reduce the standard of living across the world. Sounds scary, right? So what does the study say now? Considering the original study was done nearly half a century ago, it needed to be updated with our present-day situation. Gaia did her analysis with the help of 10 variables, including key aspects such as fertility rates, non-renewable resources, pollution, and food production, among others. Gaia's study, published in 2020, concluded that growth would stop in about a decade in a business-as-usual scenario. Another scenario was also studied, known as Comprehensive Technology, or CT. This was related to how advancements in technology have helped bring down pollution levels and raise food production. In the CT scenario, the impact was lesser, but there would still be a time when growth would decline. There is a less probable scenario called the Stabilized World, or SW. While the path is the same as the other two scenarios, the SW scenario expects human beings to limit growth voluntarily, so natural resources don't run out. This means society has to change on a global scale along with technological advancements. According to SW, industrial output and world population will start to level out. This way, food availability would still meet demand. Pollution would also decrease and natural resources would come out of scarcity levels. While this sounds promising, it requires human beings to act quickly before the crisis becomes unmanageable. The report suggests that unless we decide on a limit, human decline would be unavoidable. Other studies predict the end of civilization. The study from MIT was not the only one to dwell on these issues. Peter Turchin, a population biologist, was involved in studying the cycle of peaks and lows among predator and prey. He realized the equations used for animals could also be used for human beings. He started applying these equations to historical data. Peter was looking for any patterns that could link factors such as inequality in wealth and living conditions with political stability. He found that civilizations such as ancient Egypt and Russia did in fact show a link between unrest and decline. These rises and falls occur in two cycles according to Peter. He found that most civilizations start out equal. With population growth during the good times, labor becomes cheap because of more supply than demand. With a mismatch, there is a gap between wealthy people and the living standard of the working class. As society becomes more and more unequal, fights among the upper class and lower class start to cause disturbance before all-out collapse. While the first cycle takes place over a period of 2 to 3 centuries, the second cycle is typically only 50 years. It usually involves two different generations, one that lived in peaceful times and another living in more unstable times. Peter looked at US history and found heights of unrest in the years 1870, 1920, and 1970. He predicts that the 2020s will begin the first cycle all over again, with unrest similar to what was seen during the civil rights movement. This prediction was quite similar to what a pair of amateur historians made in 1997. The historians William Strauss and Neil Howe wrote a book called The Fourth Turning, an American Prophecy. They claimed that unrest would begin around 2008 and the crisis would peak during the 2020s. Peter Turchin's predictions were made in 2010, long before the recent turbulence surrounding the US elections. But he suggests the political divisions and divide between rich and poor could very well be signaling that the US is beginning its downward cycle. Another researcher took up the baton to see why some prey animals always survive and continue the cycle. Safa Motashari is a mathematician keen on figuring out why this prey survived, but civilizations such as the Mayans were never able to recover. To do this, Safa divided the data in terms of predator and prey. The predators were the human population, while the prey were the available natural resources. He also split the predators into two groups, wealthy and commoners. The divide showed that extreme inequality or a major shortage in resources would push society over the edge. But if the two happen at the same time, civilization's collapse is inevitable. One of the reasons is because the wealthy are protected from the effects of a lack of resources and resist change until it's too late. According to the study, Western civilization may be living on borrowed time. Since the financial crisis in 2008, the gap between the rich and the poor has grown exponentially. Around 1% of the world's rich control almost half the wealth. With our continued use of fossil fuels, it could come to a head sooner rather than later. While renewable energy is keeping the decline away, it won't be long before the magnitude society grows at won't be sustainable. Anthropologist Joseph Tainter also has a similar outlook. In his worst-case scenario, fossil fuels would dry up. This would end up causing a shortage of food and water, causing millions to die in a few weeks. Considering how interconnected everything is now, it may not be a complete disaster. Also, teams of scientists and engineers have been working on finding solutions. So even if things look bad, we may be able to survive longer compared to past civilizations. Let's keep hope alive and continue striving for a sustainable future. We just need to wake up and make better choices. That's it. Thinking about the end of the world sure sends a shiver down our spines. Interested in learning more? Let's keep your curiosity going with a couple more crazy scenarios, shall we? Will you explode or die if you hold your poop for too long? What are the creepiest images found on Google Earth? Go ahead, click one, or better yet, watch both, and find answers to some of the wildest questions. Do you ever wonder about the collapse of civilization? Let us know in the comments below.